Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of the Beneath the Layers podcast. This week it is just me. We will continue with the guests next week. But for this week, I just wanted to come on and talk to those of you listening about just one thing that's really important to me specifically, and that's sort of improving on yourself. I feel like throughout my entire life, I've always pushed towards progressing as an individual, as a person, just progressing, making myself the best possible person that I could be, just so that I can be successful, that those around me, the people that are around me, can be successful as well, that I can help whoever needs my help. That's pretty much what my ultimate goal has been just throughout the course of life. And I can tell you that part of that journey has just shaped the career that I ended up in eventually. I know that for the longest time I really wanted to become a doctor because I figured I can help people out in that way, which is true, and it's very admirable for those of people who are going to become doctors, and we need them. We definitely need people like that. And I wanted to be one of them. That was something that I really, really strove for, and I don't even know if strove is a word, but I just think that was something that would elevate me in terms of the type of person that I wanted to be and the type of help that I wanted to give to others. You know, being able to help someone who's suffering from a disease or an illness of some sort, you know, the gratitude that they might have for you being able to help them is tremendous, and I would absolutely love that feeling to be able to help someone. I think that was something that motivated me to strive towards that field. But as a lot of you may know, I didn't end up doing that. Actually, somewhere along the way, I just decided that that wasn't for me specifically. Like, it's not that I couldn't do it. You know, I know that I was more than capable of doing it. I mean, obviously, during college, especially your undergrad, when you're making these decisions, you never feel ready enough to do something like that. And of course I was in that position, but I felt like I would eventually be able to study enough to become that. And I think that I was very capable of doing that. I just decided, instead of making that decision to go to medical school and take that route, I just decided that's not exactly what direction I wanted to go. That's not exactly how I wanted to help people. The way that I wanted to help people was by being able to share experiences with them, whether it's their own, whether it's mine, whether it's through somebody else, and just help them in a sort of philosophical / mental capacity. I think that was something that really motivated me to do this podcast in general, as well, as I'm sure you've heard me answer that question before. But if not, then yeah, I mean, this is part of the reason why I started this whole journey. And right now I'm just talking, like I have no idea where this is going. I just turned on the mic, turned on the camera, and just started recording. No idea what direction I was going to go. There's no plan. It's just kind of like how the interviews go, interviewing and talking with others. You just kind of see where the conversation goes and it takes you, and what messages and things we can get out of that. But the main reason why I wanted to do this is I just wanted to show everyone and talk to those of you that are listening that, you know, you can definitely, no matter where you're at in your life, no matter how bad or how good you may feel about yourself, you can always do something to improve yourself and make yourself become a better person when it comes to even just treating those around you a little bit better, or becoming a role model in society as a whole. You know, there's a lot of people out there that want to be role models. Like, that's something that drives a lot of people. You might be surprised of how much it actually drives people to do certain things, because they want to be some sort of influence or influencer. That's a big thing nowadays, and you see that when you go on social media, you go on Instagram, you go on Twitter or YouTube and things like that. People want to become influencers and do things that they think people would be inspired by, and kudos to them if they're very successful at that. Some people take advantage of it. Some people use it for their own personal gain, which, I guess if the opportunity is there, who wouldn't take that, but for me, I don't really care so much for that. Again, I say this repeatedly, as long as, one person can hear this and can take something from it, then to me personally, that's a success. And so there's this little story that I just wanted to share by the great philosopher Alan Watts, and it's the story of the Chinese farmer. And this story is, the first time that I read it and that I heard it, it really, really got to me, and it really inspired me in a way that you might be a little bit surprised by. I'll tell the story first, and then I'll go ahead and just kind of share what I think about it. I don't have it in front of me either. This is just kind of from what I remember. It'll also make it a little bit more genuine in that sense. But anyways, so the story just pretty much goes, there once was a Chinese farmer, and one day or one evening, the farmer's horse ran away. And all the neighbors came around and went to the farmer and said, "Well, that's just too bad, isn't it?" And the farmer replied, "Maybe." So the next morning, the horse came back, but it brought with them 7 other horses. And all the neighbors came around that evening and said, "Well, that's just great, isn't it?" And the farmer said, "Maybe." The next day, the farmer's son went out, tried to tame one of those wild horses. He fell off and broke his arm, and all the neighbors came around and told the farmer, "Well, that's just too bad, isn't it?" And the farmer said, "Maybe." The next morning, the conscription officers came around, or the army, looking for people to join the army. And they declined the farmer's son because he had a broken arm. And all the neighbors came around and said, "Well, that's just great, isn't it?" And the farmer said, "Maybe." There isn't a single thing in this world that is going to be good or it's going to be bad. Things happen. It's a complex world. Everything is connected in some way. So you don't know what's going to happen from someone's misfortunes, or you don't know what's going to happen from someone's good fortunes. That's essentially the story. And it really stuck with me because I found a lot of truth in it. Like, something good can happen to someone, but you never know what the consequence of that could be. You don't know. You just don't know. And so a lot of people worry about that. Even myself, every now and then, something bad might happen to me, or something good might happen to me. And you think about, well, what if something bad happens to you? You think about, well, when is something going to finally, go my way? When is that thing? You look forward to that future thing that's going to be good for you, and it's going to pretty much, make all of the bad feelings or all those misfortunes that you've had go away in some sort of fashion. And you look forward to that, but you forget about what's going on in that moment that you're in. Even when the misfortunes are happening, or even when you're going through something, you forget about that because you're looking too far ahead. And I think that's a very common mistake that happens. And the same can be said for good things that happen to people, good things that happen to you. If you got $10,000, if you won $10,000 at the casino or something, or you found it on the street, it doesn't matter. You would count that as sort of like a good fortune, something that good that happened to you. But then, somewhere down the line, you kind of start expecting these good things to keep happening to you, and you don't really enjoy that moment. In that time, you decide to just blow all that money on something because you think you'll get that money again if that's your good fortune. And that can be said about a lot of good things that happen to people. that can happen to you. And it's all about what you decide to do with it and enjoying it in the moment and being in the present. Because if you're thinking too far ahead, if you're thinking too far in the past, you're going to miss out on life. And when you go and you're on your deathbed and you look back like on your life, and let's just say somebody is to ask you, do you feel like you lived a happy life? Do you feel like you were happy? Could you say that currently right now you're dying, going into the afterlife as a happy individual? Can you say that? And a lot of people, I mean, me personally, I think a lot of people, if they're honest with themselves, if they're truthful in that moment, they can look back on their life and realize that, or they'll probably realize that, I spent too much time looking forward to the future. I spent too much time looking back at the past, always trying to catch up. And you never really enjoyed the moments when they happened, One thing that I like to do, especially when I'm going somewhere that I've never been before, or that I really enjoy, or that I don't see every day. Like if you take a trip to another country, or if you go to a national park or something along those lines, or if you go camping. Yeah, it's cool to take photographs, but you have to make sure to enjoy the moment while you're in it. Because if you look back at the photographs, you're not even going to remember how you felt in those moments, or the things that you remembered or thought about when you were looking at that beautiful scenery, or when you were in this completely different country that was just so foreign to you. And I think it's really important to live in that moment and to understand how you're feeling, and to understand the thoughts that are going through your head in that moment. And you'll start to see over time, the more and more you do that, even with daily things, that the state of mind that you have, the way that you think about things, the way that you approach problems changes. And the reason why is because you're collecting more data, essentially. Everywhere you go, everything you do, everything you experience, you collect data. And in that moment, if you can realize what that data is, then you can build upon yourself, and you can build your character, and you can think about the things that you can do to, if it's a good moment, make that moment sustainable, or realize that when there's another moment that's similar, that this is a good moment. And on the contrary, if you're having a bad moment, if you can just, a lot of times bad moments are filled with pain, and nobody likes to feel pain. But if you just take a moment and realize what's going on, how you're feeling, what you're thinking, and all your thoughts, you're able to kind of catch yourself and realize, well, how did I end up here in the first place? How did this misfortune happen? And don't get me wrong, sometimes misfortunes happen by chance, and that's just because, again, the way that the world works, it's completely interconnected, and things will happen by chance. There's some things that are going to be out of your control, but again, it's not about what happens to you, it's about how you respond to the things that do happen to you. There's people that are very, very fortunate, but they're probably some of the worst people in the world because they feel entitled, or whatever the case might be. And there's some people that are in very misfortunate or unfortunate circumstances, and they can be the happiest people in the world. You can look at some people or talk to people from a third world country who has very, very little, and every single day they don't know if they're going to have food that day or not, or water even, and they can be some of the happiest people in the world. And what I'm trying to say is, if you talk to some of these people, if you kind of experience what their experience is by going to their country, immersing yourself in their culture, and understanding the things that they go through, that helps you become a little bit more grateful for the things that you do have. And that's just an example of how you can start to become, or start to improve yourself. And what I mean by that is, it's sort of just like becoming more understanding of others, and becoming more understanding of your own situations. Because if you can do that, then I think that's what's really going to help you sort of understand the situations that you're in, and what's the best way to approach things when they happen, you know. And I think that's really cool. It's a really cool thing that you can do. I'm not saying that I'm there and like I know everything, because I'm not. This is something that I think personally you can just always work towards, but there's never like a ending goal. There's nothing that you can set like, oh, I want to learn all about this one thing or these 2 or 3 things. You get there and you just stop. I feel like it's like a habit. It's like something you just want to continuously do forever and ever. It's just wanting to learn more, wanting to experience more, wanting to do all these different things to help not only yourself. Again, this isn't just about like helping yourself. Like you do this, you will inspire those around you. And if everybody collectively has a similar mindset, then when it comes to this sort of thing, then I think this is something that builds a strong society, one that doesn't hate one another, one that understands one another, one that can accept everyone for who they are. And I think that's something that we struggle with, especially these days, with everything that's going on in the world and all the misinformation and things like that are out there, and people feeling like they know everything when they have not experienced a single thing in their life that has anything to do about whatever it is that they're commenting on. And that's a problem. I think that's a problem. Like, first go and experience something for yourself, see how it is, see what it's like, and then you can make an opinion for yourself on how it is and how you can possibly fix it if it's something that's going wrong, or how you can improve on something if it's something that seems promising. But I think that's just a approach that you can take. Now, the one thing, why I think this is important is because usually when somebody wants to improve themselves or wants to become a better person, let's say, that's actually quite difficult. You can't do it on your own. And the reason why you can't do it on your own is because if you are someone who needs to be improved, or if you're someone who wants to become a better person, then the one that has to do the improving is the one who needs to be improved. And so, you have this situation that's kind of like a circle, so kind of like a cycle. And a lot of times, if you're just trying to do it by yourself, you're going to fall back into that cycle. You're just going to fall back and, retort back to what you were before, or that type of person and the type of mindset that you've had before. And so it's good to go out and experience, and it's good to go out and see what the world and life has to offer, because I think that's something that not a lot of us do. I've talked to many people who have barely even left the own city that they live in, their own state that they live in, or country even. And I know it's kind of difficult nowadays. Some people just don't have the financial means to take trips like that very often, or go places like that very often, and I understand that. There are ways that you can, if you really, really want to, you can talk to people from other countries. I mean, with the internet nowadays, you can almost reach anybody in the world, almost at any point in time, even, just schedule a meeting or something, and you can do that. But yeah, I mean, this is just something that I've been really, really trying to, when I talk to people and, they ask me questions about what they can do to become better, they can do to improve themselves in a positive way, then I try to tell them this as much as I can, like, it's definitely doable. It's just a matter of how much and how much effort and time you're willing to put into it, because it does take a lot of effort. It does take a lot of time on top of everything else that you're going through. And it's so easy to give up. It's so easy to give up on not only yourself, but on doing something that you don't feel like is making an impact right away. I kind of relate it to the gym. When you first start going to the gym, it's actually kind of difficult. I mean, maybe not for everybody, but for me and a lot of other people that I know, to start working out, to start a routine is actually very difficult. And it takes a lot of motivation, and it takes a lot of time to build that habit. And you don't see results right away. You don't see them right away. But once you hit the ball rolling, and once you once you go and you start that routine, you get in the habit, you start to see the results. And it's similar in that way, but in more of a mental capacity and more of a mental sort of workout, you can say. You do get exhausted, you do get tired from it, but I will say the feeling is satisfying, and just being able to go out and share what you've learned and what you've experienced and the things that you've seen to others is something that is, I never thought I was going to get the feeling that I get when I talk to people about certain stuff. It's very, very rewarding and self-rewarding. I'll admit it's self-rewarding being able to talk with people and understand them, because years from now they'll come, you might run into them again, and and you can remember where they were when they talked to you, and then you can see where they're at now, and you can see the progress, and it's something that's really, really satisfying. And I'm sure it's satisfying for that individual as well. I mean, I look back now and I see how much that I've changed over time, and I think it's absolutely insane. Like, it's crazy how much that I've changed the way that I think about things, the way that I approach situations, the way that I just, live in the moment and do everything that I just love to do. I couldn't ever see myself being where I'm at now 5 years ago. I mean, I started this whole conversation talking about wanting to become in the medical field, and I think that was more of a forced thing for me. Like, not only would I be helping people, would I be making a lot of money, but at the same time, I wasn't thinking about, well, those two things together and doing that sort of job or doing that sort of work, would I be happy doing it? And once I finally sat myself down and just thought about it, I realized that, well, you know what? I don't think I would entirely be happy. I think that for that sort of job, for that sort of thing, that I wasn't going to be the best. I wasn't going to be not that I wasn't going to be the best doctor or anything like that, but I felt like I wouldn't eventually put in like as much effort as I should be for having that sort of job, And once I realized that, once I knew that that was going to be the case, I couldn't do that job. There's no way that I could go and become a physician for somebody who I wasn't going to put in 100% effort in, 110% effort in every single time, trying to figure out what it is that they're going through health-wise and figuring out a solution to that. I feel like for me, I would eventually get tired of doing that sort of thing and stop giving that effort, and I would not want to be that. And the reason why I had to sort of figure out what it was that I wanted to do and just strive towards doing that instead is because I wouldn't want to go to a doctor who wasn't giving me their 100% effort every time. Like, that's just, you wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. You wouldn't feel that trust with that doctor, So I decided to figure out what it is that I enjoy doing and do that. And so that's where I'm at now. And I just wanted to come on real quick and share that with you or share that with those of you listening. Because I think if you can, start something along those lines, if you can live in the moment, if you can share your experiences with others, if you can learn from others, from their experiences, and I think that is something, and you're really trying to push towards working on yourself as an individual. I think that is something that's really important, and I think that's important to a lot of us. And those of you watching this video format can see the sun's going down. I didn't turn any lights on this. I just wanted the natural light to shine in through the window, and I just started talking, and I sort of knew that this is the route I wanted to go for this conversation. And I hope that I was able to tell you and share with you a little bit about, just helping to become a better individual, a more improved individual, and living in the moment and not worrying about the consequences that come from any good or misfortunes. Because when you worry too much, that can essentially affect your decision making, and some of the decisions that you make can give you a lot of setbacks. And so it's very important to have a clear mind when you are making certain decisions, especially when it comes to your own mental health, especially when it comes to things that affect your life, because something that affects your life will affect the lives of those who are closest to you and those people who love you and that you love. So I think that's it for today. I mean, I'm always open to having conversations with anybody. So if you listen to this and you want me to elaborate on something, just send me a message or send me email, or if you have my number, send me a text, and ask me questions. And if you want to have a more in-depth, deeper conversation about something in particular, just let me know. We can even, if you're comfortable with it, we can do it in a podcast format, and we can, peel back your layers and dig deep and, try to help out in any way that I can towards your goals and our own goals and things like that. So anyways, I guess that's it for today. A little bit different. Again, I'll definitely start the guests. We'll have that guest on the next week's podcast episode. So the next guest, which you'll then find out who that is very soon. But for now, I'll see you later. Have a good one. Bye.